2024 Toyota Wigo versus 2024 Suzuki Celerio is the best small car comparison. While the Philippine market and the rest of the world continue to see the rapid rise of crossovers, small hatchbacks are still huge in the local scene. Just look out on any local road, and you'll see plenty of these city cars running around. On that note, Toyota Motor Philippines capitalized on the strength of this segment by launching the all-new Wigo back in July 2023. It has three variants, with a price ranging from PHP 609,000 to PHP 729,000. So how does the 2024 Toyota Wigo fare against the Suzuki Celerio, one of its foremost contenders in the subcompact city car segment? To find out, let us compare the Wigo G against the Celerio GL AGS. We chose these two to match as both are the top-spec trims in their respective variant lineups, and both sit above the PHP 700,000 mark. 2024 Toyota Wigo vs Suzuki Celerio, exterior. To begin this comparison, let's go over the Wigos and the Celerio's dimensions. The Wigo G is 3,760 mm long, 1,665 mm wide, and 1,515 mm in height. It has a ground clearance of 160 mm, and a wheelbase spanning 2,525 mm. Over to the Celerio GL AGS, it features a length of 3,695 mm, a width of 1,655 mm, and a height of 1,555 mm. It also has a wheelbase length of 2,435 mm and a ground clearance of 170 mm. Of note, comparing vehicle dimensions is important since it gives a buyer an idea of how much car they'll be handling. It likewise gives a clue as to how spacious these rides are. So to sum those dimension figures up, the Wigo G is slightly longer and wider than the Celerio AGS. The Toyota also has a longer wheelbase, but the Suzuki is taller off the ground and has more ground clearance as well. Concerning exterior features, both cars get LED front fog lamps and power-adjustable side mirrors. The Toyota does get several external equipment that are not available on the Suzuki. This includes a power folding function for its side mirrors, side mirror-mounted turn signal lamps, LED headlamps, and a rear spoiler. On the flip side, the Toyota gets halogen taillights, whereas the Suzuki is equipped with LED taillights. The Celerio GL AGS likewise sports a set of larger 15-inch alloy wheels, while the Wigo G rides on a set of 14-inch alloy wheels. 2024 Toyota Wigo vs Suzuki Celerio, interior. Inside, both city cars can comfortably seat up to 5 occupants. Both sport fabric seats, manually adjustable driver's seats, as well as a tilt-adjustable steering wheel with audio switches. The Wigo, however, does get a push-to-start button while the Celerio gets a turnkey ignition system. Moreover, the Toyota model gets a keyless entry feature which isn't present on the Suzuki. These two cars also get manual air conditioning systems, but the one on the Wigo uses a digital control setup that feels and looks more advanced compared to the dial-type controls on the Celerio. Both likewise get an analog gauge cluster and a digital trip meter, but these devices for each car are very different. The Wigo G, for example, gets 2 separate analog gauges for its speedometer and tachometer. The Celerio GL AGS meanwhile, gets a huge speedometer, while a small digital tachometer is positioned within the digital trip meter. For onboard entertainment, the Wigo G gets an 8-inch touchscreen linked to a 4-piece speaker system. This touchscreen also features Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth, and USB connectivity. In comparison, the Celerio GL AGS is kitted out with a 6.2-inch touchscreen that uses WebLink 2.0 for smartphone connectivity. It likewise has a 4-piece speaker system, Bluetooth connectivity, and USB ports. With that said, the Toyota has a larger screen and that might mean better legibility for some users. Plus, it gets CarPlay and Android Auto, and whether we like it or not, these two are the gold standard in smartphone-to-car linking at present. Engine and performance. Under the hood of the Wigo G is a 1.0-liter inline-3 gasoline 4-banger that can churn out 66 horsepower and 89 Nm of torque. Power is sent to its front wheels via a continuously variable transmission, CVT. The Celerio GL AGS meanwhile uses a 1.0-liter inline-3 gasoline inline-4 capable of producing 66 horsepower and 89 Nm of torque. Power is also sent to its front wheels. As one can see, both engines on these vehicles are just about the same in terms of making power. The Suzuki's transmission, however, is totally different as it uses a 5-speed autogear shift (AGS) transmission. To make it simple, the AGS uses real gears with a fixed gear ratio that's manipulated by an automatic gearshift actuator. The Wigo CVT, in turn, has unlimited ratios achieved via a gearless belt-driven system. The result of this is very different driving feels. Thanks to its CVT, the Wigo tends to provide a linear power band with no dips in RPMs as one accelerates. The AGS meanwhile feels like driving a manual with RPM dips during its perceptible gear shifts. For those curious, one can read about how this transmission feels to use in our Celerio GL AGS review. But in short, it will take time to get used to, and some drivers might find its manual mode a bit easier to use. On top of the transmission system, another thing that makes the Celerio stand out is its automatic stop-start system, EASS. This fuel-saving feature is not available on the Toyota, and it works by automatically shutting off the engine when the car detects that you've been idling for too long. It then restarts the car once your foot leaves the brake pedal. For their other mechanical bits, both the Wigo G and Celerio GL AGS are just about the same as well. Both use a McPherson strut front suspension and a torsion beam-type rear suspension. Both cars also use a front disc brake, a rear drum brake, and a hand-operated manual brake for stopping power. Safety. Concerning safety equipment, both cars get what you'd expect from a modern vehicle. Both have anti-lock braking, stability control, hill start assist, rear parking sensors, an engine immobilizer, and a car alarm. Both also get dual front airbags. Unlike the Celerio GL AGS though, the Wigo G gets a rear-view camera, which means it might be easier to park in tight spaces. Plus, it also gets an onboard digital video recorder, DVR, aka a dashcam. The latter, of course, is useful for recording driving incidents from minor fender benders to crashes. Price: Wigo JMT, PHP 609,000. Wigo E CVT, PHP 684,000. Wigo G CVT, PHP 729,000. Suzuki Celerio variants: Celerio 1 metric ton, PHP 708,000. Celerio 1.0 AGS, PHP 754,000. Conclusion: if we're basing this comparison on price to feature alone, then it appears that the Toyota Wigo might have the upper hand. It has several safety features that are a must-have in local driving. We're talking about the Wigo G's brighter LED lights, its all-important dashcam, and a reverse camera. Plus, it has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which are crucial for techies or those who really rely on mainstream navigation apps. You get all of these bits on a hatchback that's currently PHP 25,000 cheaper than its Suzuki rival. But on the flip side, the Celerio does have its own appeal too. Its gauge cluster arrangement is a visual novelty, while its EASS can be useful in saving you money, especially if you're using the car as a dedicated in-city ride. And while it takes getting used to, the AGS transmission might feel more engaging to drive thanks to having real gears. At the end though, we encourage serious city car hatch buyers to give each a test drive. Doing so will provide you with a more informed decision that goes beyond a mere specs comparison.